WSOU 89.5 FM. I'm Valentino, and I'm joined today with JT from Erra. How you doing today, JT?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. I appreciate you asking. A lot of great stuff to talk about. You guys have your new deluxe album of your self-titled. How does that feel to have that kind of in the works and being released?
Good. And weirdly enough, it's going to come out around the same time of the year as the self-titled, so it's kind of nice. We were
That's
sitting
awesome.
on the deluxe tracks almost as long as we were sitting on the self-titled originally.
Now, when you were writing a self-titled, was the plan always to kind of have a deluxe with like a more expanded edition, or was it just like
No,
after?
actually, not at all. So a lot of people are asking why was the Night of Silence put on the end of the album because they thought that would have been a good closer. It wasn't even written until like a year later.
That's so funny. No,
Yeah.
and I think that the memory fiction is just such an incredible closer. You know what I mean? That track is
hmm
like already amazing. And I also feel like Night to Silent is just it's nice on top of it. I feel like I like it in this format.
I honestly think Night of Silence has a little bit like different nature to it. And you're gonna see like some small recording like preferences, not recording, but like creative preferences change on some of the newer like singles from the deluxe, which will kind of like shoe in what you can expect from us, you know, in the next
Yeah,
record.
absolutely.
Not
Have you
to lock
guys?
us in a box, but like I don't know, I feel like some of the songs were have like a different vibe to them, like different writing
Yeah,
style choices and whatnot.
absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned the next record. Have you guys even started that process yet, or is it too soon to tell?
No, we're actually like sorting with the group chat now, trying to like schedule out like the rest of the year, and I mean it's that time. We're due for recording again, so here it comes.
And that is so awesome. I kind of want to ask a little bit about, your headspace
hmm
because you guys have been a band for well over a decade, but this new album, like your all five of your Spotify top most played songs are from this new record. This
hmm
record has made a splash unlike anything the band has ever made before. How does that feel going into the next one with such a successful release?
Feels like pressure. My the good. I mean, it's good pressure. It's like we want to provide our fan base with stuff they love. We want to make music that we really enjoy. We want to improve to ourselves. So, it's all those things in balance. Try not to get lost in the sauce is always difficult. But, I'm very hard on myself in really all things. So I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to allow anything to leave that studio unless it's less than perfect.
Absolutely. And you had the chance to play these songs live, with August Burns Red. That was amazing. Tell me about like watching those songs translate into the live setting.
Good question. Yeah. That's funny because we, went from playing, no new songs to almost only new songs. And I'm really proud of this record. So like, it's not like I was bummed to have to cut out some old stuff to make the new ones fit. And yeah, sometimes it takes a little while for those songs to like settle in, but I don't know, it just kind of felt right away. Especially songs like Gungrave. We opened with Gungrave, and that was that was a good choice, honestly. It turned out pretty nice.
And we talk about how successful this record was. I think that was a smart choice putting so much of the new record in the set list
hmm
because you're getting a lot of new fans day by day on that tour. A lot of these fans that like love
Right.
August Burns Red, love metalcore, and when they check out your discography, they're gonna start from the new record. That's just kind of how we do it. So
Hopefully. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not like we're trying to shoo out the old stuff. We're just, I don't know, trying to usher in this new, like, we tried to make a statement with this self-titled, so we really wanted to, like, push those songs, I guess. Like, hey, this is where we feel like we've come as a band, really proud of this work. We feel like this is a culmination of everything we've been trying to do for a while, so we're going to just do a hard push to this direction, I guess. It was the intention.
yeah, absolutely. And
Right.
this new record, there's a lot of cool like sounds you play with, you know what I mean? You have a lot of like very, very amazing incorporated elements that aren't just
hmm
like rock or metal. Um, Tell me about like, with these deluxe tracks, like how did you work a lot of those in as well? What was that process like again?
It's more of a Jesse question, but thankfully, Well, with the deluxe, I remember him being just in like a headspace and a vibe. Like I'm writing all songs that kind of had like this idea. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I feel like something similar came up when we were writing Neon. He kind of just gets in this headspace where I feel like the self-title is a good spread of a lot of different things. The deluxe is a little more like we wanted to cover a bunch of cool '90s songs, and we wrote three singles that feel like they're all the same entity. You know, we have Carson and Grant to work with we had Carson and Grant to work with again from Atrium Audio, same people that worked on our self-titled that did the deluxe, so we were very familiar with them, and we find that they're fun to like stem ideas off of when it comes to doing like creative or weird things. Like we used some, I forget what the tool is that Jesse used in House of Glass at the end, Ebo.
Oh yeah, Evo, yeah.
And then we use the theremin in some songs. Yeah, we just got, we got weird with it. We try
That's so
to
funny.
we try to provide where the harp was lost.
I was just about to say, fans are begging for this harp, Um,
I mean, I don't know a lot of bands with harps, so maybe that's why people are like, oh shit, the harp. But I don't know. I don't have any ties to the harp. The harp is
yeah.
cool.
So what I'm hearing is the next era record won't just be like a harp instrumental album,
Yeah, I was like, I did say at some point I was like, yo, we should bring back the harp on one song, but not tell anybody. And just let them figure it out.
I would just love to hear like the most like visceral death metal screams just over like the beautiful da, 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 da,
Honestly, it'd probably be more likely that it comes back for like a ballad
Yeah,
style
yeah,
song.
absolutely. Speaking of ballads, I want to kind of transition to this next thing. Vanish
Mhm.
Canvas featuring Courtney LaPlante. I gotta be honest, Spirit Box is probably one of the most like up and coming bands. Like they're just like crazy. Like, it was like a year ago, no one had heard of them. Now everyone's talking about them. And
Mhm.
you guys have had a very you've been working so hard for so long, and it's just cool to see like kind of like the combination of these two bands that are just like exploding at the same time on this track
Well,
together.
well, what's weird is I've known Courtney for like 7 years, and we asked her to do that like before that record even came out, like before, like they had just started to blow up, and it was kind of like interesting timing to see that song released along with a slew of other features she did, and like one of the most successful metalcore records that we'll see for a while. Like so cool for them. I love Courtney and Michael. They're amazing humans, super talented musicians, and Spirit Box is awesome music. So it's like it's kind of a recipe for success there.
Absolutely. I feel like
Yeah.
the metal scene has had such a cool like revival, in these last few years. Because like I feel like just there's so many amazing records coming out. It's
Hmm.
insane.
Very competitive right now. A lot of really good bands putting out really good songs. Everybody wants to tour together, but it's really hard to like figure out who's going to play when and how long.
Exactly. And I've always said when the scene is strong, everyone's strong, so
It's
it's
true.
so
That's
nice to
true.
see just like almost like not becoming like mainstream because I don't think the metal genre will be as like, like mainstream as like the pop genre, but it's
Hmm.
way more mainstream than it was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it's really refreshing to see.
It's really hard to get a judge for that too when you're because like our band's growing, so I'm getting more attention from people I feel like I normally wouldn't. Like some like professional golfer out of Alabama, I feel like has been in my. I've seen him like float around like some likes and some comments on the band page. I'm like, damn, this is so cool. But so I mean, so I say that not to like humble brag, but
Yeah, yeah, no, of course.
it's cool to see people who I would say the quote unquote normies living the normal life, but love metal and love this kind of world, giving us some like some love. It just feels cool. A lot of gamers out there. We're all kind of gamers too, so that's cool for us. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind people promoting our business at all
Yeah.
and enjoying our content. That's like why we do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's always cool when you see a celebrity that's like you wouldn't expect to be into the metal genre, but
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
few out there.
Well, there's some that's just like that guy's got to like,
Yeah,
that guy
yeah.
had to used to listen to Census Fail when he was 14 or something,
Oh,
or
exactly,
something, or
exactly.
used to love Silverstein or Trey you growing up or whatever.
Exactly. Speaking of Silverstein, the perfect segue into awesome news. Probably
Yeah, I'm
one of the
very
craziest
very
tours
excited.
I've seen, and like this lineup is stacked. If you guys haven't heard this, Beartooth, the headliner, Silverstein, the Devil Wears Prada, and Era
Hmm.
going on tour together. That's gonna be insane.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Hopefully, we had a pretty good, despite the cancellations overall, the ABR tour was very successful amidst the pandemic. So I'm hoping we can have a fairly successful run on this too.
Yeah, no, of
I'm very
course, and
excited.
I think that like it's just gonna be so crazy because you got all these three bands. I know we're talking about kind of almost like the revival of like the metalcore scene. The Devil Wears
Hmm.
Prada, Beartooth, you guys. I know Silverstein's been around for a very long time, but all these bands in the last 10 years have just been like working so hard, and especially you. It's cool to see you guys play these enormous venues. These aren't small venues you guys are gonna be touring.
Yeah, I mean, no band loves the opening spot, but I'm not going to complain about this tour for sure.
Yeah, and
I've gotten a little spoiled recently with some room on stage, so I'll have to get used to that. But I'm thinking at these venues there's still gonna be some room for activities, as they say.
what do you think is going to be the most different part about playing a show that's this enormous versus playing, like a hallway show?
Having to condense a set because now we have all this music to play, and now we only get probably like time for like six or so songs. See, like it's probably like a 25 or 30 minute slot, so we have to like be very selective with the 5 minute songs that we love to write. So probably only six in there. Yeah. So, well, I mean, I'm assuming Now to Silence will creep into the set. So it's gonna be tough. Like there's tons of songs that I really want to get to and address from the self-titled. Like we still haven't played House of Glass live or Shadow Autonomous, which were both singles.
Mm.
We'll get there. We'll
And
get there.
that's just so funny because as a songwriter, like every song is like your baby. It's like your child. You
Yeah.
spend years working on this, and I'm sure when you have to cut songs off the
Well,
set list, that sucks.
dude, I mean, you say that and I say that too, but like thinking back on some of these songs, I'm just like, I hate this. I never want to hear this again.
That's so funny. I do love that though. I mean, like I'm sure just even like lyrically, you're in a way different headspace 10 years ago than you were now. I'm sure if you were
Yeah.
like re-listen to that whole first record, you'd be like, what is this?
One of my favorite Eminem lines is "Forget my last CD, that stuff's in the trash."
I love
with
it.
with explicit, so I'll keep it PG for the radio.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like that's just the trajectory of like that's the way a band should be. If your new record is like your favorite record, like then you're doing it right. You're putting your
Yeah.
best foot forward.
Some fans be like, "Nah, if it doesn't sound like this is garbage." But yeah, you have to write stuff you enjoy because nobody wants to play this song 100 times that they hate.
Yeah, I mean, especially in like the rock and metal scene, I feel like see the fans they get that a lot. Like play your old stuff. Like I don't know why in the rock scene fans are like so divided with that, but I've definitely seen it a lot more. I know what you're
I,
talking about.
I think fan service is okay. I think it's important even. But yeah, like don't sell your like dignity just to please your fan base. If you like
Mm.
your new stuff, play your new stuff. People will get it. If you're adamant enough and like confident enough in pushing a new direction in your band and you do it the right way, like people will understand that this is what you're doing now. And you know what's nice? Those albums still exist. You can still listen to them. It's not like we deleted them off the internet. So, and they're great records, and they represent a time and growth for any artist. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad they happened.
And I think like with a band like Era, where you guys have experimented so much throughout your career, I'm sure
Mhm.
fans are more accepting of change.
Sure.
I guess that does kind of make sense because I feel bad for a lot of bands that get pigeonholed. Like even in the pop punk scene too. If they kind of stray a little bit outside that pop punk, they get shamed for it. But I think
Yeah.
to your virtue, you guys have been experimenting since day one.
Yeah, and even if we tried to do like if we tried to rewrite a record that happened now 10 years ago with different members, we were different people. Like it's not even gonna sound the same. Like even if we tried, it wouldn't be the same type of like lightning in a bottle effect that some of those records can have. So I don't know. People just need to understand that.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
want to write the same. I don't want to write, impulse B sides for 4 records.
Oh, I love it. But
You know
no,
what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly. And I think that
Yeah.
just goes to show why this new record is so successful, why the self-titled has been incredible. Is because you're right, you're always pushing forward.
Yeah.
I do want to ask a little bit more about this deluxe edition. This is going to be awesome. You
Sure.
guys have three covers, Muse, Audio Slave, and Nine Inch Nails.
hmm
What can we expect from that?
So we did a Queens of the Stone Age cover. It was it's nicknamed Millionaire. I think the full name is you say I ain't worth $1, but I feel like $1,000,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Off the 2001 the Red album, and we Jesse loves 90s rock. I love 90s rock. We've definitely been the type of band that takes the weird route in a lot of scenarios. So I don't know what like really got us into covers. I've always wanted to do covers. I've always thought covers were cool. So when we started like working on stuff, I mean, I definitely like went out of my way to find 90s songs that I knew Jesse would like that I would be happy with, and I went with those first. And a lot of those ended up being like some good crossover. If it was me, we would be doing like Disturbed and Breaking Benjamin covers, you know?
Yeah, I
But
love it.
but Jesse finds a way to like interpret these songs that make it really feel like era tracks. I mean, definitely the Muse cover feels like an era. I'm really excited for that to come out because it feels like an era song. I didn't know any of the songs even prior, and I'm a big Chris Cornell fan. That was like an Audio Slave song that just escaped me.
Mm. Oh,
Also, a
that is
very
cool.
risky maneuver because we were afraid to cover a legendary and now deceased singer.
Yeah.
So we wanted to pay our respects correctly.
That's true. I'm sure it's tough, and maybe you can like give some insight into like when you have a song that's like one of the best, like
hmm
one of the greatest written, and you want to put your own flavor into it. How much like do you give? How much do you let be? Where do you walk that line?
I think most of these songs are actually 1-to-1. Maybe tempo wise, not so much, but as far as structure, I'm pretty sure it's pretty close. And I think we do that on purpose. Like we love to make things feel authentic. Anytime we've done a cover so far, we've tried to like keep it pretty authentic, and just put the era stamp on it. Like that. This is definitely a cover of Muse, but that's a tapping riff that Jesse loves to write. So it's like a little bit of
Mm.
both, a little bit of column A and B.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like you're really, really walking that line, but also like having success with it. That's so
Like there's
cool.
no random breakdowns in any of these songs, that kind of just like stick out like a sore thumb. They're actually covers.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Like that. That's good to
Tasteful,
hear.
you could say.
Because like sometimes I know like, there's so many bands out there like have made a career being a cover band first and then
hmm
going into their normal stuff, which is also great. But I do get what you mean. Where it's like there's a random breakdown that's like just like why, why
Yeah,
is this here?
yeah. Then it
Absolutely.
feels less authentic when you spice it up too much.
Hmm. No, of course, of
Like,
course.
why did you really cover this very popular song?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We
And
didn't
it's like
cover any popular songs. We covered all obscure songs.
obscure songs from huge bands.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what we love to see.
We'll
But
find the middle. We'll find the middle ground.
absolutely. But yeah, no, I want to thank you again so much for talking with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to really pick your mind about this deluxe edition, all the new stuff coming out, this new tour. We're playing the new tracks on WSOU. We love the
I
record.
appreciate that. Thank you so
Um,
much.
yeah, and so like we're really supportive. So anything you guys need, thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.